One of my earliest memories of the Primates World Relief and Development Fund was a yearly walkathon that happened on Good Friday. It was the early 1970s. Most of the churches in St. Catharines, Ontario participated. Walkers, young and old, sought out sponsors. We walked from one church to the next. St. Thomas to St. Transfiguration, St. Columba to St. Barnabas, and all points in between, and then back to St. George's. It was always a large group that walked, and I went with my friends. At each church, we received a stamp to prove that we had been there and that we had traversed the distance. At the end of the walk, we were treated to a free hot dog lunch with chocolate milk and ice cream. The first year, my friend Garth and I dilly-dallied the whole way, and we arrived in the late afternoon. And by the time we got there, the hot dogs, ice cream, and chocolate milk were all gone. We were beyond consolable. The next year, we were determined not to miss out on the free hot dogs and ice cream. That year, we ran the whole way, barely stopping for a break at each participating church. We were first to arrive at St. George's Parish Hall and the first to receive a hot dog. We were jubilant. For many years, PWRDF was synonymous for me with raising money, walking, and hot dogs. And ironically, there was very little connection with the fact that we walked on Good Friday. Then again, Good Friday liturgies were not something that a child went to in those days. That was for grown-ups, I guess. The events were quite separate and kept deliberately apart until one begins to understand the power and the place of Friday, until one has an epiphany and connects the dots to see how one, innocent one, teacher, healer, Messiah, was betrayed by a friend, arrested by authorities, condemned by a kangaroo court, whipped, humiliated, led to Calvary, clothes divided, and crucified, and left to perish for us. Friday is simply another human tragedy if left alone. But we place Friday next to Sunday, and on Sunday, the whole world turned. Everything changed when Jesus was raised from the dead. And from the viewpoint of Sunday, Friday looks different again. Today we place the power of Friday and Sunday beside our reading from the 49th chapter of the prophet Isaiah. It's a poem that reflects the experience of the people of Judah having been defeated at the hands of the Babylonian Empire, having been sent into servitude away from home, having been surrounded by the powers and trappings of the Babylonian regime, having been reminded constantly of what they had lost, that they were losers, broken and forgotten by everyone, and fundamentally forgotten by their God. They had forgotten who they were and whose they were. Yet in verse 13 of the poem comes word of jubilation, a hint of Sunday to come. The people of Judah are free to come home, free to return to Zion. Sing for joy, O heavens, and exult, O earth. Break forth, O mountains, into singing. For the Lord has comforted his people and will have compassion on his suffering ones. But in the very next verse, Zion cannot hear the words of homecoming. They just don't sink in. That happens when you live too long in exile, too long when you have lost hope, too long when you are away from home, living too long by the rivers of Babylon. And we hear, but Zion said, the Lord has forsaken me, my Lord has forgotten me. These words from verse 14 also resonate with the words we hear in Psalm 22 that Jesus utters from the cross on Friday. My God, why have you forsaken me? On Friday, to the depths, Jesus would go for us, To the depths God would go for a people lost in exile. And Isaiah paints an image of God's presence, God's tenacity, God's want for closeness and intimacy with the people, with us. Can a woman forget her nursing child or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hand. Your walls are continually before me. I will not forget you. I have inscribed you on the palms of my hands. Imagine how these words would have been heard by those in exile. Imagine that for a moment. Friday is simply another human tragedy if left alone. But we Anglicans are summoned always to bring Friday to dwell along Sunday, to bear witness to injustice, to bring healing to those who suffer, to right a wrong, to lift up the poor and change circumstances of sorrow into leaps of joy. And the ministry of the PWRDF links churches and cities, towns, crossroads, and suburbs together to bear witness to the love of Christ, so that we can reach across continents to offer a hand of love, intimacy, closeness to those around the world who need our help. To build and outdo the destroyer, to bring hope and to lift up the eyes of the broken, to bring joy and to echo the intimate call of God, better than a hot dog, chocolate milk, or ice cream ever could. Can a woman forget her nursing child or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hand. Your walls are continually before me. Amen.